Good morning and welcome to Dr. Lamba's Awakening Calls new episode. Today the Prime Minister of India is going to attend Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, which will also be attended by Putin, President Xi, Shahbaz of Pakistan, and host of other countries. But why is India attending this summit? Is it of relevance, especially since two of its enemy countries are attending it? Enemy in the sense that we are in a perpetual state of semi-war. And as Mr. Singh Jaspal of Mississauga made a comment yesterday, if everyone is going to think about their own interests, then better it not be held as it is. If the Greek grouping seems to be in offing, China plus Pakistan versus India plus Russia. Under the circumstances, can Pakistan contribute anything positive? So this is one of the questions that's facing. Agree. But there are hundreds of other questions. The animosity. Then India has joined Quad, which is against China, and this is a strange situation. On one side, you are opposing China, and there are two Quads, both opposed to China. And on the other side, you are joining China against West. So why this paradoxical, ambivalent situation? You should attend it or not. Now this is going to be held in Samarkand, Uzbekistan. And Samarkand is very important to India from various points of view, from culture, from religion, from trade, and as an opening in other parts of the Central Asian republics. And this is the first meeting being held after 2019. For 2 years, it was not held because of pandemic. And next year, it will be held under the presidency of India in Delhi, because India will be hosting it as being the president. So should India leave it, or should India just have abstained? Now, the summit is coming at a time when the world is increasingly getting polarized. While China is assertive in the past debate and is challenging the democratic Western world. Now with the Russian-Ukraine war, the divisions are getting sharper. So what's the relevance of India attending SCO? Now let's first see the organization. It was formed in 1996. Originally, India was not a member. There were only 5 members: China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia. Then in 2001, Uzbekistan became 6th member. And then this organization came into being in Shanghai on June 15, 2001. 2017, two arch enemies, India and Pakistan, became the members. That was the height. India could have at that time put up a stipulation: no, either Pakistan would be there or we would be there. We cannot be part. How can you be a part of the defense against your own offensive neighbor? Now, since its inception, SCO has been anti-West in character, and the purpose was to counter the influence of USA and the Western countries in Central Asia and Eurasia. Now, India has ever-growing proximity to the West after the death of Mrs. Gandhi. So it would find it challenging to build a meaningful engagement with this regrouping. Disputes with China and Pakistan mean maneuvering within the organization, difficult proposition. And China is the most dominant member in the group. So India has little space left to maneuver. China is belligerent. The border disputes with India further complicate the situation. And we have seen what has happened to SARC. It has failed. In almost 4 decades of experience, SARC has not contributed a single iota of meaningful contribution to the regional integration in South Asia. So India-Pakistan dispute has always overshadowed the purpose of SAARC. So how would SCO be different than SAARC? SCO, with China and India, Pakistan as members, would follow the same path as far as India's role is concerned. Besides with deep engagement with the US and Western countries, India's presence may not be relevant. At the global level, India has participated in strengthening Quad along with US, Japan and Australia on one side, then with UAE, Israel and USA on the other. So the arrangement counters China's belligerency in Indo-Pacific region. Then another thing, this year Iran is also becoming a member of SCO. The uncertain fate of Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action of the nuclear deal of Iran is likely to push Iran closer to China and Russia. Thus, SCO will become still more anti-Western. Now let's look at India's engagement with Russia, because that's important. We can never leave Russia, whatever the reason may be. Our 90% of the arms are Russia dependent. Relations with China and China and Pakistan are irritants, that's right. But it has very close relations with Russia, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkestan, and Indo-Russian ties are decades old and time tested. So besides pressure to take ties, India did not take pressure. Though pro-Russian, it did not condemn Russia in Ukraine war. And Russia has always been a supporter. Russia is a major defense supplier to India and top supplier of oil to India. They may undergo a reset in the wake of prolonged war, since India would reduce the reliability factor. But then India is unlikely to completely move away from Russia. That's not possible. In case of Central Asian republics, India has excellent ties. The region is important for strategic reasons and from the point of view of energy supplies. Indo-Central Asian dialogue. India, Uzbekistan participated in joint military exercise. You remember, in 1929 it started, and these 3 years was held in March. This is called Dustling, the only Central Asian country having military exercises. So India has close ties with Russia and Central Asian republics. That means that India cannot ignore them. Then let's see its outreach to Central Asia and Eurasia. People are mostly not aware that India has been working on increasingly its outreach to Central Asia and Eurasia through connectivity projects. India is involved in 3 connectivity projects at present in the region. Everybody knows about the Chabar port in Iran. But very few people know about INSTEC and Astagat, the International North-South Transit Corridor, INSTEC, INSTC, INSTEC. Now, INSTEC is a counterpoise to One Belt, One Road project of China. And then Ashgabat agreement is there. Now, these projects enhance India's trade and commerce with Central Asia and with Eurasia. And these projects will be beneficial because they'll help India get access to rich energy resources that both the regions offer. So this will allow India to become self-sufficient and diversify its energy needs. It won't have to depend on Middle East or USA or Russia for that matter. Now this connectivity also helps India circumvent Pakistan. The strained relations with Pakistan are a perpetual disorder problem. So India has accelerated its outreach to these regions through diplomatic engagements and connectivity projects. Then India's independent engagement with Russia and Central Asian countries are more beneficial through the platform of SCO, which limit India's options owing to the presence of adversaries like China and Pakistan. So it's a catch-22 situation. Looking at the situations, India cannot say no to SCO. Its relationship with Eurasia, with Central Asia, with Russia, these three regions, India can ignore only at its own peril. But India also cannot ignore that at present it's largely dependent on, or rather partner on, with the West, Japan, Australia, Israel. Would it leave them in lurch? So India has to balance. Another thing, here Modi has a role to play as far as India's interests are concerned. He should definitely object to any mutual conflict being brought into picture. He can tell, okay, we are talking about the region, so let's talk about the region. And possibly this is the first time that President Xi and Modi will be meeting face to face since the border issue started. That face to face meeting might also solve some issues. One thing more which concerns is that the recent floods in Pakistan and India's offer to give food and aid was rejected in Pakistan. The Shahbag, the present Prime Minister, might seek the help and assistance of Russia and other countries to open up a dialogue with Modi. And nobody wants a neighbor to be a permanent enemy, and India should at least, if the situation permits it, take advantage of it. It never harms to have a compromise. Never. The billions of dollars we are spending on defense can be used for other purposes, but then not at the cost of national defense, not at the cost of national honor and prestige. That has to be taken care of. So, as far as the relevance is concerned of SCO, it is there that we cannot deny. Once you deny this platform or deny the use of the platform, you may continue to have your bilateral relationship, but this multilateral relationship with Russia, Central Asian republics, Eurasia, Central Asia, this would dissipate. Then it will be one-to-one. Yes, that is good. Not bilateral is good. But multilateral gives it more strength and more pliability. And then what can happen is India can assume the role of a big brother as far as the Eurasian countries and Central Asian republics are concerned. And this is the medium through which it can do it. And quite possibly, if properly manipulated and managed, this might strengthen India's capability to negotiate with the West on its own terms. Rather than being dictated by the West, it can dictate to the West that this Quad shall work on these conditions. South Africa, UAE, Israel would always be there with India because of the mutual interest. So, as a matter of fact, by attending SCO, India can assume the role of being an honest broker, and that would enable India to enhance its prestige as well as to take benefit of energy suppliers, metal suppliers, and general trade. All that is a positive thing. So instead of acting in a hurry, and I appreciate Modi going there personally, and he could have done it. Earlier in SARC he did it. Last time he did not go. There was a meeting and he said, no, I will not go. He could have sent a deputy, but then he has gone because he has to meet Putin also, which is very important. So from this geopolitical situation which is changing, India has to remain alive. It cannot ignore. It cannot simply say, we are not with you. No, we are with you, but on our terms. We are with you for your benefit. So we look as benefactors rather than as receivers of benefit. And that would be a major, major plus point for India. So you cannot ignore this and must not ignore this. Rather make a dovetailed, integrated strategy, and that would enable us to combine the benefits of Quad with the benefits of SCO and optimize our returns. And that's what India needs today. And once India is strengthened, and Pakistan and China now, that we have good relations with all these Central Asian republicans, and they might suffer both prestige-wise and financially. They would also like to be more careful in dealing with India. So, attending this organization summit is definitely a plus point, but we have to be very, very pragmatic, and our strategy must be oriented in a proper manner. Thank you.